I have 32 books on my TBR shelf, and today I'm going to read the first line of all of them and rate it out of 5 while laying on my floor.
Books, 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 books. Books, 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 books.
I didn't test if these would all fit in shot before I started laying them out. 32 books is more than it sounds. Some of these have been on my TBR for ages and some are newer. I have no real set plan of what I'll read next or what I'll read at any point. So coming to the TBR shelf is always like a little mystery tour. I'm going to rank the first line of each book out of 5 in terms of how much it makes me want to carry on. And that is the whole concept of the video. Let's read some sentences. Okay, book 1 is The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. The madness of an autumn prairie cold front coming through. Okay, so I know some school teachers would not be happy with that line. It doesn't have a verb. The madness of an autumn prairie cold front. That's a lot for me to hold in my head. Autumn prairie cold. Okay, I'm going to give that a 2.5. Next up is A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. I'm coming to this book about 2 years late, after the whole internet has read it. The first sentence is, they all look the same, hotel bars, even when they don't. I mean, it's not a bad observation. Do I care? Am I going to find out that I just don't care about any books today? Is that the mood? I'm like, why do I care? They all look the same, hotel bars, even when they don't. I don't like that. I think it should be hotel bars all look the same, even when they don't. I think putting the hotel bars in the middle of the sentence is trying to create mystery. And I don't appreciate that. 2. Next is The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Barabbas came to us by sea, the child Clara wrote in her delicate calligraphy. Okay, well, this is the first one where the sentence is like a normal sentence. That's kind of interesting. But I feel like there's 2 characters in one sentence. It's a lot of people I'm going to have to get to know already. 2 whole people. 3 out of 5. Do I not like books? Next up is The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. Now I've read 1 or 2 Sarah Waters's. Apparently this one's very good. Well, we'll see about that. First line. Okay, it's a longer line, so we might get somewhere. So this, said Kay to herself, is the sort of person you've become, a person whose clocks and wristwatches have stopped and who tells the time instead by the particular kind of cripple arriving at her landlord's door. Okay, so I mean, it's set in the past. Hence that word. 3.5. There's more going on. It was a longer sentence. There was more words in it. More information was conveyed. I don't think books are actually written with the intention of being read just one line at a time, but maybe they should be. That's what I'm saying. Okay, 3.5 is the winner so far. I'm not tallying these up. I sound so angry at these books. Next up is The War of the Worlds. The famous one. Does this have a famous first line? Yes, it does. No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's and yet as mortal as his own, that as men busied themselves about their affairs, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Okay, so the first half of that sentence is very famous. Again, it's just getting longer. So it's like a much bigger proportion of the book. I mean, the first line is basically aliens. It's aliens. Which, I mean, who doesn't want to read about aliens? But then also it's like an older book, so stylistically it's different. It's a kind of slow, serious prose. I read books. No, I quite like that. 4. Okay, we're gonna go further back in time and read the first line of Beowulf. Oldest book on my TBR. I mean, not this translation, but the original. This is Seamus Heaney's version. I'm not going to read, like, the introduction doesn't count. No. The first line of the actual poem. Well, the first sentence is so, full stop. But we'll move. Shall I just rate so? So. It's 3 stars. So, the Spear Danes in days gone by and the kings who ruled them had courage and greatness. I like the days gone by. Oh, I do like that. It feels very Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I just said that Beowulf feels Lord of the Rings. Fight me. 4. Okay, next I have Nobody's Fool by Richard Russo, who apparently won the Pulitzer Prize. Good for you, man. Oh, it's got a very small font. I should rank them on fonts. I shouldn't rank them on fonts. That's not normal. Upper Main Street in the village of North Bath, just above the town's 2-block-long business district, was quietly residential for 3 more blocks, then became even more quietly rural along Old Route 27A, a serpentine 2-lane blacktop that snaked its way through the Adirondacks. I don't say that out loud. I'm not American. Of northern New York, with their tiny, down-at-the-heels resort towns all the way to Montreal and Prosperity. Oh my goodness. I need to lie down. This is why I'm on the floor. Okay. So I struggle with like a lot of geography in books. Like if you want to tell me like the river swept to the left and the road crossed the river, but then the trees were going up to the north and I don't know which way we're facing. And then the mountain is by the sun. Oh, like you've lost me. So in this line it's describing the main street in a village, which said it was quietly residential for 3 blocks, then became quietly rural along Route 27A. And Route 27A snakes through the Adirondacks to Montreal. No. 2. These are not, by the way, the ratings I would expect to give these books. It's just the first sentence. Okay, Dinosaurs by Lydia Millett. I can't hold it. There we go. Don't come at me about the spines. When he decided to leave New York, he chose Arizona because of some drone footage he'd seen. Okay, I mean, it's got a bit of action. The guy's leaving. I'm tired of America. 3. It's 3. Okay, next is a brick. This is Hilary Mantel, A Place of Greater Safety, which is a French Revolution book. I'm not going to be telling you anything about the books. This isn't a useful video. Okay, there's author's note. No. Cast of characters. No. Oh gosh, that's a big cast of characters. Map. No. Here we go. Oh wait, did I skip a page? No, that was an epigraph. Epigraph? Is that what you have on a tomb? Epigram. Epitaph is what you have on a tomb. What's an epigraph? What's the difference between an epigraph and an epigram? 2 letters. Now that the dust has settled, we can begin to look at our situation. Okay, I'm trying to just think about this line and not the fact that I know Hilary Mantel is a very good writer. Now that the dust has settled, we can begin to... I like the we. I quite like a we in a book. Just one E. That now the dust has settled, something has happened. We're in media res. Oh, are we in media res? I don't really know what that means. That's 3.5. I don't know if we're going to have a 5. Like, what would a 5... What can you do in one line that makes me like, I have to carry on? See if Terry Pratchett can do it. This is Guards. First sentence. This is where the dragons went. I mean, I like Terry Pratchett, but what is that line doing for me? This is where the dragons went. Okay. 3. I'm interested. It's dragons. I don't need to know, though. This is Independent People. This is one of these books that is way heavier than it looks. You pick up a book and it's not the right weight. How is paper so many different weights? This is by Halldór Laxness. It's an Icelandic book. In early times, say the Icelandic chronicles, men from the Western Islands came to live in this country, and when they departed, left behind them crosses, bells, and other objects used in the practice of sorcery. I mean, we love to learn. We love to learn historical facts. I like the situating it in the sagas. 3.5. On my arbitrary scale. I'm really throwing these books. Okay, next is The Night Ship by Just Kid. The child sails in a crowded boat to the end of the Zuyder Zee. No, I don't like the child. The child, no name. It's like trying to be a story already. None of these critiques make any sense. I can't believe this story is trying to be a story. That's a 2.5. I thought it was going to be higher than that. I like Just Kid's writing. Okay, next up, this is third in a series. So this is The Lords of the North, which is in the Lost Kingdom books, like men with plaits and swords. That's the whole genre. I read the first one and really enjoyed it, and I read the second one and it was really boring. So the third one has just been chilling for a while. We have a glossary and stuff. Oh gosh, get to it. Here we go. I wanted darkness. Okay, that's the first sentence. I'm going to keep going. I wanted darkness. There was a half moon that summer night, and it kept sliding from behind the clouds to make me nervous. Okay, I like that summer night. There's like a specificity. I like that. But I don't know what this dude's doing, creeping around. I don't trust him. 3. I'm just giving everything a 3. Okay, this is Priest Daddy by Patricia Lockwood. This is non-fiction, I think. Yeah. It's a memoir. There's not much non-fiction on the TBR shelf, but this is one of them. First line. Before they allowed your father to be a priest, my mother tells me, they made me take the psychopath test. Oh, I think that's the winner so far. Yeah. No, that's... I want to read the next sentence. Maybe I don't hate books. 4.5. I really don't know what a 5 has to do. All right, back with the bricks, and it's The Count of Monte Cristo. Longest book on TBR shelf, probably. Has this got a famous... No, it's got a boring first line. On the 24th of February, 1815, the Lookout of Notre Dame de la Garde signalled the three-master, the Pharaon, from Smyrna, Trieste, and Naples. Oh no, it's like specific date and boats. It was a functional sentence there. 2.5. Okay, so this is Midnight's Children, and I did start reading Midnight's Children and stopped. It wasn't like an official DNF. It was a pause NF. But I think like if I am going to read this, I would have to start again. So I'm including it. I was born in Bombay. Oh, wait. I read it wrong. I'm reading one line. I was born in the city of Bombay once upon a time. Now, like the next lines go on to kind of make that quite interesting. Goes like, no, that won't do. blah, blah, blah. But the first sentence is, I was born in the city of Bombay once upon a time. That's not doing a lot. So were lots of people. 2.5. All right, back to the Weird Girl books. We've got Death in Her Hands by Atessa Moshfegh. First line. Her name was Magda. Let's have one more. Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. See, like, I want to read this book, but if I was just reading that line, that would just feel like a generic Scandi murdered woman situation. 2.5. What's behind me? Okay, got some Kate Atkinson. Now I enjoy Kate Atkinson. She's good at writing, and that is what I look for in a writer. This is Human Croquet, which is very early Kate Atkinson. Why am I giving you all these facts? We're not here for facts. First line, call me Isabel. So it's a call me Ishmael riff, presumably. That's the first sentence, but the next one is brackets, it's my name. 4 stars. It's got a bit of character to it. I feel the brackets. Call me Isabel, brackets, it's my name. It's a little bit funny. Why are they doing like a Moby Dick riff? I don't know. Next up is The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. Quite a chunky chunk. And I'm excited to read this. I've read other David Mitchell and enjoyed it, and enjoyed the Mitchell verse. Is that, people probably say that, that's so pretentious. But just on the first sentence. I fling open my bedroom curtains and there's the thirsty sky and the wide river full of ships and boats and stuff. But I'm already thinking of Vinny's chocolatey eyes, shampoo down Vinny's back, beads of sweat on Vinny's shoulders, and Vinny's sly laugh. And by now my heart's going mental. And God, I wish I was waking up at Vinny's place in Peacock Street and not in my own stupid bedroom. Okay, so quite long. And there's quite a lot going on. I like it starts with, there's the thirsty sky and the wide river full of ships. And I was like, well, I'm getting exhausted having to imagine stuff already. What's that thirsty sky? And then it's like, and stuff. And I enjoy that, and stuff. 4. I think Priest Daddy is winning so far. Okay, let's get this out of the way. This is Fear. It's about Trump's first presidency, and I bought it before the second one started, and now I don't want to read it, obviously. I'm here for a good time. Now it's got a personal note. That doesn't count. It's non-fiction, obviously. Note to readers, no, skip. I'm not a reader. I'm just a worm. In early September 2017, in the 8th month of the Trump presidency, Gary Cohn, the former president of Goldman Sachs and the president's top economic advisor in the White House, moved cautiously toward the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. Okay, so it's setting a scene. It's a lot, though, isn't it? Like, it's a lot of boring words in one sentence. Like, economic advisor. Oh, it's a bit worthy. But it is like something, what is that guy going to do? 3 stars. This is Persepolis. Now, this is very famous. If you don't know it, this is a graphic novel. This is very famous, but if you don't know it, let me make you feel bad. It's like a cartoon strip kind of vibe. But it has text. So the first sentence is, this is me when I was 10 years old. And we'll include the picture. You can't see this little girl in a hijab. This is non-fiction as well. 3.5. Like, I want to know about the kid, but I don't know enough yet to feel really pulled in. It feels harsh judging people's memoirs based on 4 words. All right, next up is Kazuo Ishiguro Nocturnes. This is the only collection of short stories on my TBR shelf. So there are 5 stories, so I suppose technically there are 5 first sentences, but I'm not reading them all. They put them in this order for a reason. The first sentence of the book is, The morning I spotted Tony Gardner sitting among the tourists, spring was just arriving here in Venice. Again, there's like little words that make it more interesting, like the here. So instead of like the morning I spotted Tony Gardner, blah blah, spring was just arriving in Venice. It's spring was just arriving here in Venice, and that's more like situated. That's more interesting already, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. But obviously we don't know who Tony is. But it's very specific. We've named Tony. It's not like spotted him. It's not authorial vagueness. 3.5. Boom. Next up is World War Z. Like, am I meant to say Z? I'm going to say Z. You can't stop me. All right, introduction. Is the introduction part of the book? Yeah. Okay, so it's like it's introduction within the world of the book. It's not like a real world introduction, so that counts as the opening. It goes by many names. The Crisis, The Dark Years, The Walking Plague, as well as newer and more hip titles such as World War Z or Z War 1. Z War 1. It sounds so silly with Z. Okay, I have to ignore the fact that pronunciation makes it really funny. This is kind of fun. We're right into the zombie plague. But it's quite like, just from that line, it's quite like generically apocalyptic. So 3. All right, next up is Wellness by Nathan Hill. I bought this for my dad, but then I've just nicked it back because I want to read it. I've read the other Nathan Hill, The Nicks. Just a very clever book. All right, first sentence of Wellness is: he lives alone on the 4th floor of an old brick building with no view of the sky. So again, this is one where I feel like I'm probably really going to enjoy the book and rate the writing. But like just from that line, it's generic, man. With no view of the sky. Like, is that meant to be meaningful? I hope it's not meant to be meaningful. That's 2.5. It's 2.5. There's nothing specific. If it had been like a name, right? And I'm not saying they should have done this. I'm just saying for the first line, if it had been like Bob lives alone on that would have been 3 stars. I don't care. All right, now we've got a saga. So this is Njar's saga. It's like one of the actual like Norse sagas from the past, written 1280. Okay, there's about 40 pages of introduction. Skip. The beginning of the actual saga. There was a man named Maud who was also known as Maud Fiddle. Appreciate that the name Maud Fiddle is just quite a funny name. It's got a footnote, like after the first sentence. Oh gosh, there's a whole paragraph. Oh, like this character comes up in a different saga. Okay, I don't care. Who's also known as Maud Fiddle. I like the fact that it was readable, even though it's like 800 years old. I appreciate someone who's translated it for me. I mean, it didn't sound archaic from one sentence, so that bumps it up. But there's actually not a lot going on in that sentence. I'm analysing these more and more as this goes on. I'm torn between 3 and 3.5. Let's give it a 3.5. Because Maud Fiddle is funny. Okay, next up is Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun. So this is part of the Finlay Donovan series. It's like Cozy Crime. I haven't read the others. It's not the first one. It was like £1. I guess like the stakes feel low. This was £1. The man's voice cracked on the other side of the partition. How am I messing up these? I have to read like 6 words and I'm stumbling. The man's voice cracked on the other side of the partition. I mean, okay, I guess I want to know, like, what do you mean on the other side of the partition? Where are you? And there's like the implied other person. That's not the man. A 3. All right, we've just got a few left. I'm hoping I've done 32. Otherwise, I don't know where some of the books have gone. This is Beloved by Toni Morrison. So I think this has a famous first line. Now, my issue with this is I've got quite an old edition. So it's got that like font, you probably can't tell, that's like too bold. Like, It's too dark. It's too. Why is it look like it's in bold? Yeah, it's a famous first line. 124 was spiteful. That's famous. It's very short as well, so we'll do the next sentence. Full of a baby's venom. I think that's more interesting that they're two separate sentences. It's harsher than if it was like 124 was spiteful, comma, full of a baby's venom or something. But the full stop is doing some work there. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Because you're like, why someone got a number instead of a name? I guess like it doesn't draw me on in a way because I'm like, this isn't going to be fun. I'm giving that a 4. This is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Okay. The question here is it going to be a really like sci-fi first line? Because I can't be down with that. You have to draw me in before you can start describing a ship, okay? As she woke up in the pod, she remembered 3 things. Okay, pod is a bit overdone. But do I want to know what the 3 things are? Like a bit? 3.5 to read what the 3 things are, which was the rest of that paragraph. But none of my business in this video. But I wish it wasn't a pod. All right. I've got like 4 more. Am I... How many of these that I've read am I like, I want to pick these up now? Like 2. This is bewilderment. I think there's like a bewilderment, wilderment pun situation probably going on there. The opening line is, but we might never find them. Question mark. Okay, so there's like no details there really to pin interest on, but what there is a sense of being like dropped in it. Like, but it starts but. The whole novel starts but, and then the question mark, but we may never find them. I guess weird. Is someone talking? I don't know. Okay, so I think that works in terms of intrigue. That's 4 stars. All right, next up is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Again, so this is fantasy. If this gives me lots of world building straight off the bat. A history of the 6 duchies is of necessity a history of its ruling family, the Farseers. Okay, I mean, so it is straight away into world building, but it didn't use too many made up words straight away, which is good. But like, am I like, oh, I must learn the history of these people I've never heard of in this place I've never heard of? No. 3. Okay, I've got 2 chonky books left. This is Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright, which I'm really looking forward to reading. It's a beautiful copy. The vast majority of my books I don't buy new. I did buy this new. And it's got one of these lovely like cardboard covers with like a flap. Oh, it's gorgeous. So the first line, I'm pretty sure, is the line that's on the cover. The cover is just the opening of the book, but I will check by opening the inside. No, it's kind of like the second line. So the first line is Oracle 1, speak, beginning with story. The line that follows, which is the line on the front, is once upon a fine time for some people in the world, but not so plenteous nor perfect for others, there lived a culture dreamer obsessing about the era. It's a very nice font, by the way. Oracle 1, speak. Yeah, okay, more interested. Like, is this totally just flawed because I said I wanted to read the book? Oh, I'm excited about reading this one. Let me rate the first line higher. Yeah, probably. But there we go. This is not a science. It is an art. That's 4 stars. And finally, The Northern Clemency by Philip Hensher. A weighty tome. I feel like you got to do something to get me to commit to holding this book. I can't pick it up. That is my fault for filming this video laying on the floor. But I suffer for my art, so I can say. Okay, so this is speech. So the garden of number 84 is nothing more than a sort of playground for all the kids of the neighborhood. Okay, so there's a lot there because someone is talking. So there's already like 2 people. Like it's speech. So there's the speaker and the listener already. And they're talking about number 84. And the children. There's a lot. 3.5. Was this interesting? I will be reading these books this year. I mean, I'd like to read all of them this year, really. I'm slowing down buying a bit. I never have like a hugely unwieldy TBR shelf, but 32 feels like enough to be getting on with, especially when you sit here and read them all. Like that's a lot of book. I think the first line of a book can do a lot. Like it can put in a lot of detail, and it can do that by being long and like listing things, which is intimidating. Or it can do that kind of like that last one. There's like lots of layers going on. If you can already tell there's multiple people, etc., etc. And ones that jump straight in, like the Richard Powers that starts like but. Oh well, sometimes it's much more boring. You know, it's he put on his shoes. It doesn't mean the book's going to be boring. It's just kind of the opening scene and how much you can tell of an author's style as well. So I think praiseworthy, you definitely could say praiseworthy. So this is an Australian Indigenous author, and straight away things like the word story. What does it say? Beginning with story, not like a story or the story, like story, which is like some words are used by Indigenous Australians, like country, in a kind of different way. So you can convey things stylistically, but often it's not enough time. So I forgive all of the authors whose first lines did not inspire me, and I still trust them potentially to have written interesting stories. After all, they are here to write whole books. Not to write catchphrases. But what is a book, if not many sentences put together? And on that philosophical note, I will leave you and see you next time.